Okay, the time is 7 o'clock. Also order the Curriculum and Technology Committee. We'll start with public to be heard on agenda items only. Like we don't have anybody. Now we'll move on to the acceptance of the minutes from the previous meeting.
Sounds good to me.
Okay, there's no old business. So we'll move on to new business with Dr. Hardy.
This is so efficient.
More efficient. Good evening. Thank you. I hope you had a great couple weeks to get the school year started. Tonight, we're going to talk about our curriculum reviews coming up for 25-26. Also, the 2025 civic assessment results, English language development resources, and Dr. Murray will lead the advanced placement assessment discussion that the committee will engage in. And Dr. Hill has some department updates. So this is just a reminder of where we are for 2025-2026. We have personal finance. It is a PD requirement beginning 2026, 2027. We do have classes already in place, but this will be something that all of our students will be required to take beginning in that 26, 27 school year.
Is that required freshmen or they can take it whenever?
They can take it whenever. We're going to probably target, and we'll talk about it once we actually go through the review with the teachers and working with the principals. But the idea at this point would be to have it as a freshman class.
Great.
And then move on. So it'll just depend, but obviously students who can't take it as a freshman or their schedules preclude them from doing that, we would have an opportunity beyond that.
That's great.
We had talked, and we'll bring it back probably next month, talking about computer science, exploring additional minor offerings and AP offerings. Dr. Edwards is with us tonight. We did talk today with the teacher that we have, so we'll bring some more details. We met with him today. We kind of talked through some of the options. And then technology education, Dr. Weidenheimer will lead that. That's within our 7-year cycle. Honors biology is also part of our 7-year cycle. AP macroeconomics and microeconomics and AP psych. So actually, Dr. Weidenheimer has all of those from technology education on down. That's part of our 7-year cycle. So that's just a review, a reminder of where we are and where we're headed for this year. Right? Any questions before I move to the next item? Go ahead, Dr. Weidenheimer.
Good evening, welcome back. These are the results of our May assessment, our 2025 civics assessment. This year we had 592 11th and 12th graders. They typically take it in their government class at the high school. Take the civics assessment, 96% were proficient, passed the assessment. And then 62 of our students received 100% and they get a certificate signed by the superintendent and the principal. And they receive that certificate at the end of the year.
Dr. Murray will actually put that information in the portal that is required. She did it. And Dr. Weidenheimer already updated the website because that's also required to be on our Springs website. So we have that already there. Ready to go. The item that I have that I'll ask to have on for the approval during our September board meeting. I've been working with the English language development team at the high school. Specifically, we have 2 teachers that this is a resource that we'll be adding to their core curriculum. These are leveled readers that support students across all of our levels of direct English language development. So it's a resource that will be used in grades 9 through 12. Student readers for levels A, B, and C, which is just what it is part of the company's labeling, and the fundamentals course. It's a supplement to the core programming. And that would be costed not to exceed $5,000. It was planned in our curriculum budget for our ELD line item. So we've been looking at that curriculum, updating it, and then this was just asked to kind of supplement some of the things that we already had in place. So any questions on that one? Okay. Dr. Murray, you're up then.
Sure. So the committee had asked that I brought some additional information back regarding advanced placement exams and where we are with that. So currently the cost of the exam, which is placed by College Board, is about $100 per exam. Our previous practice is that Springboard would pay for the first exam for students each year. And that cost us approximately $85,000 to $100,000. I actually included your actual 5-year costs. So last year was the highest cost at about $80,000. And if we track this back to 2020, 21, we're at about 48,000. So we have seen an increase in number of students taking exams. Again, you could have one student taking one exam, or you can have one student taking 4 exams. It all depends on where they are. The decision was made last year by the building administration that we are no longer going to be paying for the one AP exam per student. I do want to just reference a lot of the work that was done by Dr. Collier, who is no longer with us, but certainly Dr. Edwards is here with us as well and has participated in that. They did a lot of work with the school counselors. As you know, they were here at the curriculum committee getting feedback from the committee. Something that we heard that was really important to the committee is making sure that this wasn't limiting students, that students are still going to be taking the AP exams, that we didn't want to see a drastic decrease in students taking the exams because of this change. So that's all something that Dr. Collier at the time had taken back and really put a lot of consideration into. He also spoke with our school counselors to get their feedback, to see if they were anticipating, since they work so closely with the enrollment of students, to see if they were anticipating a drop in enrollment as well. Students who are on free and reduced lunch also receive the discounted rate by the College Board of $65. So the current impact, as of right now, we have potentially 21% increase in the number of students taking the exams. I say potentially because that's based on enrollment. We are projected to have about 1,000 students taking AP courses, and so about 1,000 different students taking an AP exam. So I am happy to report that the enrollment in AP was not deterred. It's actually up, so it was not deterred by this practice. It was advertised in the course book. It was tried, we want to make sure we communicate it early on. If you recall, going back 2 years, we purposefully pumped the brakes on this because we wanted to give families enough notice. So that was in the course book to make sure that there's plenty of notice with this. So I say potential right now because the last hurdle to be able to give you strong and fast data is actual enrollment in the AP exam. So as of right now, we have 21% increase in the number of students potentially taking the exam. That enrollment is due, I believe, at the end of October. So we'll know for sure the enrollment of students taking the exam at that point. So the committee did ask that we bring this back for further discussion, but I want to share so far the trends are pointing in that direction and hopefully meeting the concerns that the committee expressed last year.
I think it's great that we have a significant increase, especially over the years, in students taking the exams. Do we know, are there ever students who are saying, I don't have the $65, I don't have $100, like, can we, that concerns me because I having 2 children that just graduated and hearing all the stories from their friends, I'm hearing wonderful stories of kids who were able to take those credits and essentially start freshman year with sophomore credits. One young lady who took, I think it was the highest level French, scored a 5, and her college gave her somewhere between 15 and 20 credits. So basically wiped out the tuition for one whole semester. She's entering her freshman year essentially as a sophomore based on her other AP classes. So that's where the value of this is so significant, and the cost to families long-term, it weighs out, out of your pocket to pay $100 versus paying all of the, that particular student paid $100 and it has enough for a whole semester of credits, right?
Actually, before you answer that, can I add some, because I have some more information to provide.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, I
Yeah.
wanted to see if there is a fund, because I would hate to have, if we go with this.
Yeah,
I would hate to have a child say, I'm taking this AP class, but I can't afford the test.
nobody, I don't
That's
think
my
anybody
concern.
wants
No,
that
and based on the work that Dr. Collier had done with the Future Planning Center last year, it is budgeted for us to pay for the exams for the students that can't afford it.
And it's
The
subtle.
reduced
I-
price?
Well, yes, the reduced price. We would
Yeah,
still have
and
that.
I'm gonna talk, I have more information about that.
Yeah.
If you don't mind, and I
Yeah,
apologize,
please, no,
because
don't.
this was something that, for those of you that were here before, I had brought this up
Please, yeah.
before, and for me, and I asked for it to come back. And I've shared information via email to the committee in the past. And my feeling is that everybody wants to see the kids be able to access the tests and the best. We all just have to kind of choose what we're going to do. But there's a lot of information out there on this, and trying to make sure that everybody has that information before we, it's not just a matter of making the decision that we're not going to pay for that first test. It really is knowing that what are we going to do now? So, and if you know me, I have, my doctorate in education, and I have been a high school assistant principal, so I've dealt with the kids that way. I've been a curriculum director. I've been the test coordinator, the AP test coordinator in my career. I have been the gifted coordinator also. So I've had, and a parent of kids who have taken the test and kids who haven't taken the test. So that just, I got, so I kind of, this is the world I kind of lived in for a long time, and now I work at a university. So the question really is like, the benefits of taking the AP test. And first thing that we just need to make sure that we understand, everybody, is that there is that real estate part too, that 40% of the US News and World Report ranking of high schools in the state and in the nation comes from some sort of AP testing. And part of that 40%, a piece of it, is to kids that just take the test, whether they passed or not. Part of it is if they get 3 or above, but part of it isn't. So just so that, no, because I don't think anybody at this table is driven by real estate values but we are custodians of the taxpayers. And we just want to make sure that we are aware that the potential that students would not take the test could impact that number and could bring it down. I personally don't think that's a major play in this. I don't think it would make, because we're going to try and keep as many kids taking the test anyway. That's our goal. So just so we are aware of that. Additionally, there are a lot of benefits just to taking the test. It does make a stronger application for college. Just when people, they look at your transcript and see that you took AP classes, they know what that means. If it says honors and they don't know spring forward, they don't know what that means. So it does make a stronger transcript. It can earn the college credit. It can also, which can save money and also save time. We know we can skip those courses, perhaps even skip a year. It does help to develop essential skills. The syllabus for it, the curriculum for it is very good. And if the teachers follow it, and I'm sure they do follow it well, it does provide for good time management examples, for good writing skills and other things that are helpful for our students. So we want as many students to do it as possible. And statistics also show apparently that if you are more likely to attend a 4-year college if you've taken AP. And we know we have students that come from backgrounds where their parents are all aware of this information, but we also have students who have parents who have never taken an AP class. So why we might want to pay is just to decrease a barrier. And if we have that barrier there, that's part of it. And I will say also that when I was an assistant principal, I had a student who was on free and reduced lunch, and therefore did not, in my district, have to pay at all for her exams. We covered them in my district completely, if you were. And she took on average about 5 a year. Mom worked in a hair salon, dad worked as a landscaper, and she's at Penn right now. So, and that's one of the many success stories that we know can happen. And that wasn't her alone. That was school counselors that were there. It was teachers. It was a network of people. And you guys know, you know our students, and you know who needs that guidance. And that's what we also depend upon for that. So it is for free and reduced lunch in Pennsylvania right now. It still only costs for the first 2 tests for a student, by the way, $20. So College Board, for anyone who's free and reduced lunch, brings it down to, I think it's $37. It's like I think it's 65. That's probably the decrease. It costs this year, I think it is $90 that we have to pay College Board for a test, just for the test part. They recommend that we charge around $99. Some districts are charging over $100. I think we're at the 99, I think, this year. And so we're billed at the end of the year. If they're free and reduced, College Board reduces that like to 37. And then Pennsylvania, currently still, assuming the budget passed or whatever, so we'll pay about, so it's $20 for the first 2 tests. I don't know what College Board charges after that, if they go down to that 30-something rate, or if they only do it for the first 2. So I think that, maybe we could even, I'm hoping that the administration would agree that we wouldn't charge $20 if it was the first 2 tests, and that was what the state was going, then maybe we would just say we would be free for anyone on free and reduced for the first 2 tests, instead of billing them even the $20 for that. I think that if we are, and we look at our what we have as far as free and reduced or economically disadvantaged, I think we're at that like 25% or something like that with free and reduced. Yeah, I have the rounding kind of thing. So, you know, we're not high in that fortunately, but we all have a lot of people that, you know, also that, or we know there are people who don't apply for free and reduce because maybe they feel they're in a temporary situation that they have a money shortage, or maybe they don't understand the benefits of the program and the stigma. And actually, by having them reach out to our counselors, if they're not free and reduced, we might be able to get some of them into free and reduced, starts a dialogue, which can benefit them and benefits the district all over that. But when I did look on our website, if we are going to go with, we're not paying for it, I did not feel that the messaging was clear. Our website's beautiful. You guys do a great job. You know, I'm big fans, but I went to the course catalogs, the only place I could find AP information. When I got there, it only talked really about the costs of it. Went down below to dual enrollment. They're like, hey, the benefits of dual enrollment are this, this, and this. This was just like, you know, you can take an AP course and it would cost you this amount of money. So I'd like to see that messaging changed. And I know I know everybody wants this kind of messaging to get out there. And when it said to reach out to the future
Planning center.
I did there, I couldn't find anything on AP. I want that button as a parent who maybe English is a second language, or I've never didn't go to college, or I don't understand, or whatever, or that I can navigate very quickly and find something to get that information, that contact, so that, because I know when we reach our school counselors and our administrators, they're going to want to help students to get that reduced amount. So just as an example for that, and I appreciate, I'm almost done. There's a whole list of benefits for AP, you know, that I talked about some of them. I'd love to see some of that included with the dual enrollment, just more like encouraging, because we know that it can benefit students. But that's the one that talks about just something that, you know, like if you have a significant financial need, you may be eligible for the $37 College Board fee reduction, depending on your state. You know, like just that idea that was very friendly. Ours is very cold, like students are responsible for the cost of it. And other ones, some districts were terrible at it, by the way. Their messaging was awful, but other districts had beautiful ones that we do not want to have any barriers between any student taking the test, or any financial barriers. So please to reach out to us. So some change of messaging there. And the messaging, I know you're going to tell me, and I'm looking right at you, Kelly, and I know both Kellys are going to tell me that our school counselors and our teachers do make sure that the students know that. Because last year, every teacher, AP teacher who taught an intro AP class said, listen, you guys are all going to test. So, you know, we're going to proceed with that in mind because it's going to be free. This year, they're going to say, you don't have to test. We're not paying for it if you don't test or whatever. And someone who maybe has never experienced an AP test is going to go home to their parent and say, it's $99, but I was told I don't need to take the test. So they're going to maybe miss out on that when they could have it for $37 or have it for free, or even, you know, scholarship, you know, the Ed Foundation with scholarship, I'd scholarship somebody to take it. So that was my whole reason for wanting to bring it back, is that I think that I respect what our administration did looking into this. I would spend the 80,000, and you know, there's other things that I've said no to in the budget, you know, then we all have our priorities. But if we're going to go this route, I would just ask the administration to work on how we are putting that information. So thank you for your
Yeah.
time.
I appreciate that.
It's very well thought out, a lot of good things to think about. You know, kind of the themes that you brought up were barriers of entry and then friction. You know, if people have difficulty finding the information they need, that might drive down engagement. The biggest barrier for me was the pre-introduced. As far as, you know, if it keeps people from taking the exam, that should be kind of the first priority. If we're seeing this level of engagement and it's from folks that are not taking advantage of that, and it tells me that in terms of prioritization, we might be able to prioritize the free and reduced lunch budget first, maybe make that free.
The $20 for the first two.
Yeah, I'm saying that's where maybe my focus would be, if we're not seeing those barriers being too much for folks that can afford it.
Can I ask, when students are asked to enroll in the test, the teacher puts it out there, I honestly don't recall how my children paid for this at all. So in terms of that experience, are we aware then, like, you know, Dave is enrolled in this AP class, but he didn't sign up to take the test. Are we aware of that? That we
Yes.
can follow up and go, hey, Dave, why aren't you taking the test? Like, is that part of the process?
Yes, it is. And
Is-
there's an additional advantage or incentive for students to take the test. Students who are enrolled in an AP course, if they sit for the exam, they are exempt from the final exam.
That I remember now.
Yes.
I remember that. So we do know
So,
early
yeah.
enough that we can get into this process and go, okay, I've got 6 students in this course that have not signed up. So we can work with the counselors or whomever to basically go one-on-one and go, hey, why aren't, I think you should take the exam. Are you not? I mean, I don't know the protocol to address a student like that, but I feel like that would be reasonable,
Well,
right?
that's something,
It's-
it's, do we have the manpower? Do we have the people already doing that?
happening, right?
It is already, it's
So I
already
think
happening.
that reassurance to make sure that the cost is not a barrier. Because I think I would hate to hear that there's a kid who is just like, yeah, my mom's not gonna give me $100 to take a test. Even depending, maybe they can't afford, but they don't want to. Like, I would love to be able to make sure that every kid who wants to take the test can take the test, that it's not a barrier for them, because it's so, hearing again, how these kids are able to go into college with such a bucket of credits, saving them money long term. I think my daughter went in with 20 something credits, so she's halfway through her freshman year before she walked through the door. I couldn't get a straight answer from her brother. But yeah, it's pretty remarkable. And I think it's so important. I think kids maybe don't all of them may not realize how impactful that is in the long run, of how much a credit costs you out of your pocket when you're in college versus getting those credits this way. So
Can I ask a question about the data, the potential or the potential 20% increase in students taking exams? I mean, and maybe I'm understanding the data wrong, but we don't know the impact of stopping this policy is about the students taking the exam right now. We just know historically, when we paid for the first exam, it led to an increase of people taking exams. We don't know the impact right now not paying for the first exam will have as to whether or not that will increase or decrease exam taking. So I think we should be mindful as a school board to look at this data again 1 year out of any decision that's making that. The second thing, and I want to piggyback on something you said, which is one of the things that happened, at least my experience with both my kids, is the messaging that the entry level AP teachers said, which is like, you're signing up because it's free. You get it free. You know what I mean? And then it was no question. There was no discussion point at that point in time. And while there's communication at home, it can be a variety of different factors. Student reluctance, students are scared to take the test, parental reluctance to not understand the importance of the test. There can be a lot of different things that go in. And the whole point of this was kind of like a little, cookie, come and eat the cookie. And then the first time you get through something, you're like, well, that wasn't bad. I could eat the cookie again. And then it kind of leads to wanting a glass of milk and then taking 3 glasses of milk. So so again, and one of the things I just want to be too is a lot of times, and we all do it, it's not a criticism, is we go from, too hot to too cold, right? Is there a middle point where we could say, hey, maybe we can't offer full cost, but maybe we could offer your first year a 50% discount or a 70, just that
Little
little, just something that again is mindful of the budget, because I am very mindful of the budget. At least I try to be. But at the same token, incentivizing that kid and parent to get over that first hump, because bluntly, it is a win-win, right? School districts win by having the names of the students, and it increases our recognition. It helps students bluntly beyond just even the distinction on the transcript, but they actually get awards. Like you can have an AP scholarship distinction. And why that is really important for someone who has gone through the college application process is the colleges don't necessarily get your scores. That doesn't happen right away. But what they will look at is if you got the scholarship distinction, because that tells them this is a kid who's taken these many tests and has gotten 3 or above. And so it's something that does make a merit on the application. So my viewpoint is I would be supportive of just continuing the program. I think it's an important program. At the same token, if that is not the will of the board, the will of administration, is there a midway point we could come to? And B, can we do the messaging? And 3, can we track this on a long-term basis to see the ultimate impact?
I think it ultimately comes down to budget priority. I think this is a valuable program. I think we all see the benefits and, I think, basically what you're getting at is if the will of the board isn't to move forward with this based on budget prioritization, what else can we do to keep the barriers of entry as low as possible and keep people from participating? I do want to give some direction to administration as to how the board wants to proceed. We don't have to take a vote, but I think we might all be on the same page to move, continuing the first exam program for free program as it is today, and put it on the agenda to be voted on the work session board meeting.
Well, I don't know that this is, so I believe from what we had talked about before was that this is not a board decision. This is an decision of the
This falls into the budget.
So-
Yeah.
We provide a recommendation, because we've had some discussion about this, and I'm very importance of AP exams and just access to that AP curriculum, even if you don't take the exam, that's
Right.
important. Colleges are looking for that too. I also look at this through an equity lens. We've heard a lot of that here today about in students who can't afford it, should they be denied of taking a test? We do things for students who can't afford things already. They can't afford a field trip. We provide funding for that. They can't afford a sports fee. We provide funding for that. Our counselors and our teachers are working. They know the parents that maybe they don't qualify for free and reduced, but they got 4 kids and they're stretched with their budgets. And we know that that's not really a free and reduced kid, but they can't afford that. Like I would like to work with our counselors and our AP teachers. Kelly and I were already starting to look at, can we reallocate? So free and reduced kids, when you look at this equity lens, have access to these tests that they're paid for. They don't have to worry about it. And we need to message that with our teachers and with our counselors. I think at the end of the year, I mean, we did not budget that at 85,000, did budget for some for free and reduced. And we're looking to reallocate some existing dollars to help more free and reduced and maybe some that don't quite qualify, but would be opting under free and reduced family. Our teachers and our social workers and our counselors know these families very well. And to your point, Maggie, they're gonna be too proud maybe to come and say that, but we know that. So we can have those conversations on the side. I would recommend we do that at the end of this year. We'll take a look at the data and see where we are in terms of kids taking a test. I think the fact that they get to waive the final, they don't have to pass the test, right? They just have to take it. That's pretty good for high school.
Yeah.
Senior, especially
Yeah.
the senior at the end of the year.
So we look at that, thank you for that. We look at that messaging too. I think I talked about on the website also, but
I think regardless, we should do that. I think you brought up some really great points in here and I took very copious notes about this. So I think everything that you had mentioned as far as the messaging, the easy access, removing those barriers, making it clear, connecting with our teachers, I think that's all something that we can do regardless.
Yeah,
That's
good.
And I'm not trying to ask for too much, but maybe even like for, again, just the first time you're taking this. I'm not talking every time. The first time you're taking an AP test, if a student's not electing to take the exam, that there be some meeting with this counselor or the teacher, that there's some touching of the child to say, hey, why don't you take a
Oh, that's
test?
them.
Yeah, something like that. So there's kind of some structural activity.
That's important. I think that's happening.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
And did we want to, as a committee, ask the administration consider that idea of the first 2 tests, if you're free and reduced for free, or instead of the $20 that it would cost us, if that's something you can consider when you are looking at how you're gonna message that too. So is that something that we wanted to, because I know you had started off by saying about going back and talking about paying for the first test in general. We can't do that here. That's not, but I think it would be okay for us to ask the administrator to
We
consider.
were basing our estimates on about $64, I think, for
65.
free and reduced test, so if they can get 2 for that.
Yeah.
That's what we were
Should be,
basing
right.
when we did some estimates.
Okay.
So it should be
One thing that, again, I think you're hearing from the committee, and I think it would be good in terms of
future planning, right? Is that this is a priority, right? So this is something that, you know, in future budgeting situations, if we're looking at things, we could possibly bring back, or maybe even like, hey, this year we're proposing a half payment situation. I just hope that we don't say we're now moving on permanently from this, because I do think this is an important thing, and I think from us, that we all feel that way too.
And we would have that data by the end of the school year, right?
We should
Well,
have
that
that
takes-
data by the end of October.
Yeah.
I would say
For
November.
registration.
For registration, okay,
How
all
much
right.
register, but we won't,
We should be able to, I want to give us until November.
So the test registration?
okay,
But we just need the
That's the first
first, the first time they're taking the
We'll have it
AP,
before
so.
budget season.
Okay, that's
yeah,
important.
because we won't have the test scores till what is that, is that like June,
But
July?
that's right.
Yeah, I don't
It's
know.
February. It's awful.
It's how many first time
If
students
we're
are
looking at
not taking the first time.
The
test,
actual
yeah.
enrollment, how many people are, how many students are actually enrolling and taking the exam, I could have that for you.
Brilliant.
Say,
But is there a way to pin out the data, and I don't know if it is, that it's just the first, because this doesn't impact all kids, because after the first time, the kids are paying for it anyways. But it really is it having an impact on the kids who it's their first time taking an AP course, reducing the amount of kids we have doing it? Like the entry point, are we reducing it?
And it's per student per year.
What I would recommend is that we start with, let's take a look at how many individual students are registered. We know that we can have about 1,000 students, individual students who are registered. So then from there, we can probably disaggregate to see, did they register for 1, 2, what's that look like? And then we can give you an idea from there.
And only in our school system, human geography, or not, is it human geography? It's
Human geography.
Human geography is usually the entry point. So I mean, I think that if we look at the data from that class, most of those kids are the first time they're taking AP exams or an AP courses.
And this is one AP exam per student per year. We could even go to one AP exam per student period. So your first one, you know what I mean?
I think it is right now, though. It's one, is
It's
it
one per
year?
year, right?
Oh, so every
Yeah.
year, every
So
year.
that's
Oh,
where
I thought it
you
was
pay
just your
for every
first exam ever that you got.
No.
No, so that's where, I mean,
Okay.
if someone takes it first time and pay for it, we kind of open that door.
I
Yeah,
think
that's-
that's
that's
kind of
a
a data, I know
reasonable-
that they'll give us.
Yeah.
more
So we
data.
can look
We'll
at
plan on
that, yeah.
November follow-up,
Yeah.
and circle back with our counselors.
Okay.
Thank you for your consideration too, and all of this,
Yeah.
I really appreciate this.
How this is
I
important.
know where everyone's heart is
Good
too.
discussion, yeah, thank you.
But I think regardless of what comes up in November, those points that you brought up, Maggie, is absolutely something that we can address now. And I think, you know, a big benefit to having Kelly here, hearing that as well. So we're gonna immediately take a look at that.
Thank you. You should see technologies at the end now. I don't know what happened. If Bob
We
always
took that
got it.
over.
There's always.
I wanted in and out.
That's quite a segue. All right. So I was asked to see how many words I could fit on one slide,
It's impressive.
and this is what you got. So what I wanted to do is really give some shout outs and kudos to the tech team. Some folks think over the summer it might be a downtime, but it's really the busiest time for a tech team. So what I broke this into are systems, devices, and trainings, just to give you the 10,000 foot view of what the tech team has been doing. And I'll lead with probably the best part, which is bottom of the first column, which is the E-rate disbursement. We got the notification for 149,182 on every center. So that's good. That hopefully allays some fears, and we are currently getting the discounted rate per month. So the two things that were approved by the board.
Great.
So that is happening. But I'll just give some brief overviews here. We have a new filter. So all of these take weeks or months, and everything that you see here was approved since I've been here. So all the yes votes for the filter, the switches, the access points, all of this is in place, which is just a phenomenal job by the tech team. So including Spring City, we use our internal resources to install and configure the switches and access points and phones, and they're all working. We've improved our security posture with the SentinelOne product, and that was a consortium that the IU provided. Migration to Gmail, full migration to Drive and Workspace apps, door access upgrades. We've been involved, but we've contracted out, and you saw that purchase come through the board, and the virtual server migration and E-rate disbursement. The devices, if you're a social media person, you saw the kudos for the tech team on Friday with the Chromebook distribution. Just a phenomenal job. There's a lot of pieces, and we timed it with photos. So we collected the Chromebook, student got their photo taken, and then when they left the auditorium, they got their new Chromebook, which went really well throughout the day. And just the upkeep to ensure that K-4 students, those devices are kept in card-free classrooms. So we periodically throughout the year inspect and clean them, and the really thorough cleaning is done over the summer. So to make our way through every classroom to take care of 3,800 Chromebooks that's a tremendous lift. Yeah, I don't want to say that, but yeah, you're exactly right. And then staff laptops are gonna be going out within the next week and a half. All the other things are done. The
Awesome.
ninth grades were done on Friday. And then some of the workstations all the way down to the iPads. And then on the right-hand side, this is an increase from previous years with the number and frequency of trainings. And this is tech specific. As you've heard from Dr. Gardy and her colleagues, there's a lot of curricular trainings and PD sessions that go on throughout the year. These were tech specific. And what we offered were virtual trainings. So these were 100% voluntary, and these were during the summer. And we had over 200 staff members who took those summer training sessions. And the in-person, both professional support staff, administrators were all well received and well attended. And then including the new staff orientation, which was just a couple weeks ago, but it feels like months. And something that new that we're doing this year are AM and PM sessions. So before students arrive and after students are dismissed, we've tried, and so far so good with the AM and PM sessions for all employees. And we're really focusing on, as we transition to LimeWise and Gmail and Google Drive, we want to make sure that the tech team isn't left behind. So we're really focusing on the tech team trainings. And it's at least twice monthly. I just put that on there to be conservative, but we're really focusing on raising the bar in the tech department as well. So just wanted to share those updates and appreciate your support. This slide would have 2 words on it without your support at the board level. So we appreciate that.
It's good to see that we're investing in the tech team. That's an important part of technologies. Investing in the team.
The human beings.
Exactly, because it's constantly changing. Do you have any sense how many switches and access points you can install? Just
So
curious.
yeah, the core 64 access points, 7 core switches. West Spring City is 1 and 1. So it's 1 class, which was nice. And then phones per classroom and then all the various spaces like the RAM Quest. So it was a big lift, and we did it quickly because the timing of it was green light and then the building's gonna open. So we had about a week to do that work.
Impressive.
Yeah.
I really am thrilled about the E-rate disbursement because I
Yeah.
truly believe that wasn't coming. I was
It's
like,
good news.
Uh,
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's brilliant.
One thing I will say as a parent and community member, and I think we have our buildings have a lot of community access. That maybe it existed before, but in my limited technology, I couldn't find it, is that there is guest internet access now that you can log into. So when you're in some of these dead zones in the buildings where you are cut off from all communication to the outside, as a community member or parent can actually reach your child or have other people communicate with you.
That's the top left. You hit the nail on the head there, that the guest network was big because it was not always, didn't always work. There's just no 2 ways to put it. So
I know.
so it's nice that when meetings like this and when community members come to the buildings, that they can access the network.
Great.
Which is good. And it's segmented and protected.
Yeah, we're watching what you touched.
That's fun.
We'll watch Heidi.
That's right.
I believe that's everything for technology.
That's right.
Items recommended for discussion at the next meeting. The next meeting is 13th, October 13th. And that'll take us to board comment.
I spoke enough, so I'm done.
Yeah.
Public to be heard.
Thanks, everyone.